All right. Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Sardonic Surfs. This may be episode 3, it might be episode 4, it depends on how I clip the other ones. Right now, there's two episode 3 in the making, although I have a strong feeling that this one's going to be the one that actually gets uploaded in time. So, I'm your host, Tommy, and this is Jansen.
Hello.
Yep, that was Jason. And all right, now we're gonna go ahead and start the episode. So today we're gonna be talking about essentially the two-party system, hence the title slide, the grand dichotomy, and I called it that because essentially, if you think about it, there's a whole lot of people here that are like moderate left and moderate right, or like say the very existence of like the political compass. There are mechanisms by which the federal government, essentially the corporate lobbies, and the corporate media machine, there's this giant war on information and ideology that I think we all acknowledge. We kind of all acknowledge the problems behind it, but then again, like the same people that do that, like kind of like this holier than thou thing, like they'll acknowledge it, the false binary, the false dichotomy, but they won't like they'll just be a proponent in that system, you know?
I think a big part of it that people are not willing to acknowledge is that the media and the two-party system are pretty much irreversibly intertwined at this point. Like, there's a reason why every time, like, we'll talk about this later on, but every time ranked choice voting comes up in a state, the either CNN or Fox News, depending on which state it is, they have something to say about it, and there's a reason why, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And I think another thing that's pretty, I don't know, pretty indicative of the overall trend is that there's a certain amount of people, like saying CNN, that like like we're giving you real news, not like those biased guys at Fox. And then
Yeah,
on Fox, they're
exactly.
like, look, we're fair and balanced. We're actually giving you both sides here. But there was I remember when I was a kid, there was one time when I was watching Fox News, right? And
Hmm.
they had like, a shill Democrat on basically, like, a token Democrat. And I remember one of them, it was about the war in the Middle East. It was during the Bush administration. But one of them was like, "We need to bomb them," and stuff. And like the token Democrat, which was out of all of the people on that panel the most reasonable, like the most reasonable person was like, "Look, come on, we shouldn't bomb them too much now. You don't want to bomb them too much."
Well, a good part of that is like the media is also irreversibly entwined with war, you know?
Yeah, of
Like
course.
everyone after 9/11 was like wanting to bomb the Middle East.
Yeah,
Like that's just
that
how it
whole
was.
fire and fury thing that we were
Yeah,
doing there for about a
exactly.
decade.
We're not obviously going to get too much into who exactly it is, but basically, like I've heard descriptions where it was like before that, everyone thought that America was like untouchable, and it was people needed to be punished for proving that to not be the case.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think kind of ever since then we've been stuck in that like, well, they've fucked with us, so we need to bomb them. We
Yeah.
need to get that oil because we might need it later, even though, like, statistically and scientifically, the North American continent would be one of the most rich for coal and oil. Just from the way that it's like that's how it worked, like
Do you know what you need
in
to do
those
when it comes to
eras.
thinking about our domestic oil? You
What's
know what you
that?
need to do? Forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about that
Like,
oil
I'm
here.
not like I
There's no
agree
oil
obviously
here.
that saving the oil that we have is a good idea, but like
Yeah,
when
I
it
mean,
there
I've already told
when
you
it
my theory that like we're well past the point of no return, like when it comes to
yeah,
oil, and that one of these days they're gonna be like, "Hey, we're out," basically.
yeah, like it turns out we had way less in there than we thought we did,
Yeah, exactly. From the
and then
standpoint
now
of oil, we have
there
no
is no
oil.
oil. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
from the standpoint of living in the Middle East, there is no longer a reason to live in the Middle East.
yeah. I mean, you could say that about basically the entirety of the equator now, right? I mean, I don't know.
No, mostly just those like like specifically those desert areas are really good for like oil, but
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
often
When the oil's
we're
gone.
so we're so oft to forget that there's a big ass chunk of the United States that's fucking desert.
Yeah. Okay, to kind of get back more we were talking about here, this false dichotomy. Essentially, through the means like through this system, there's a system by which people that have like how do I describe it? Basically, I think a Republican and a Democrat at this point, like I'm sure you can pull out some anecdotal examples, but I think most Republicans and most Democrats, just as a monolith, I think they acknowledge climate change. You know, obviously Donald Trump doesn't. You know, it'll get cooler and shit. But most Americans can acknowledge climate change, I would say, and say that it's a problem. You know, and that it's scary. You know.
Quick.
Okay.
So
And so we've essentially found a system now where, like you were talking about a minute ago, the media and the two party system are so just intrinsically linked at this point that they've honestly done a really effective job at it because you can have say a reasonable person on both sides that we agree on the issue, like climate change, for example. Like I think we can all agree that it's hotter now. This I don't know. Even in my lifetime, there's less snow every winter than there's ever been that I can remember in my entire lifetime. So
yeah,
like people, we as like an entire like, as the American race at this point, we can acknowledge that climate change is an issue, right? But but the reason you can't stop that, because there's empirical evidence for that just existing, looking outside day after day and see that. You can't suppress that information. So what they do, I mean, look at this image right here. So what they do is they tell you that that, oh no, it's true, but one guy, Mike Zap the Gaze Pence, brings a snowball in. He's like, look, it's warmer, but it still gets cold enough. It still gets cold. And Joe
yeah,
Biden, his party, his platform has said, like, I don't know if how close him and AOC are, but
not
people
super,
like
but
Elizabeth Warren, people very close to Joe Biden, have literally they made a prediction about 16 months ago that the Earth was going to be over in 16 months.
I mean, it's not doing so hot right now, I will admit. And I think obviously like the weather's going to keep getting weirder. But the thing that really strikes me, like these people are supposed to be like embattled, political rivals. But with things like this happening, you have to kind of wonder: is it all real? Is it a show? Is it all like? I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. I obviously don't think that Mike Pence and you know, Joe Biden are working together, but I I think at the end of the day they're not really too far. At the end of the day they're really old. They're really religious white dudes who only really care about themselves.
See, I think that's where I'm more of a conspiracy theorist because I could definitely see, like, I don't know, how do I describe it? Like, I could agree with you that say, like maybe one kind of like corporate block pays for Joe Biden's existence, and a different corporate, block pays for Mike Pence's existence. But at the end of the day, like the dollar is really what's important to both parties, in both systems.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like back to my original point, as meandering as it's been, like basically, even with issues that you can see that have been demonstrated just physically, every single person can see it demonstrated in real time. Then the true art begins. So after the disinformation of like what the issue genuinely is, like there are still some conservatives that think that like, oh, climate change exists. I can't deny that. It snows less than it ever has, but it's because it has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with man. There's nothing we can do, lowly beings as we are, So really really where like the art is, like where the genuine skill comes in, is essentially they're able to make everyone like say we all have, a negative carbon footprint, right? That's the ideal. That's the only way to stop this. We don't even need to stop climate change. We need to reverse climate change for a period of time if we really want to have this natural Earth as we know it. And yet, both people can kind of have those ideas, and both
Do you
people
need to
can
go?
kind of so they can both have those ideas, but the true solution, quote unquote, is entirely different. Like, how do I describe it? like on Fox, you might see like, you know, they might make fun of Tesla or, call you a faggot for driving an electric car. And then on CNN, there'll be a guy in a truck and some person screeching like, "You're the reason why the earth is dying."
Something that like people are going to have to like acknowledge at some point as well. Like there's a huge, for example, the plastic straw thing. Like there was this huge narrative about plastic straws and how they were like the bane of the devil. But like 10 corporations are responsible for like 60 to 70% of all plastic waste on the earth.
Right.
Like if we were to just hold people accountable, like it, I think really what I want to happen more than anything is for people to just not wake up, but like realize that we've been getting fucked with this whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you need to feel bad because you're a bad person and you use straws when you go to McDonald's.
Right.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? ExxonMobil doesn't need to uh, hold, the basis of safety regulations in place to keep their fucking oil rigs from blowing the fuck up.
Right. Or I think more than that is it's like, oh, come
Pause.
on, oil, these people that like really what Fox News like has done like pretty well more is that one basically spreads the narrative that the earth is ending. The earth is over, that the entirety of the planet is dying. Every breath you take is one closer to the finality of your existence. Whereas the other is like, it's just fine. Like, let's think about how do I describe it? Like, let's think about police brutality recently, right? Half, there's one side of this like CNN, right? Where I don't know, actually, both of them are so corporate that it's kind of hard to like really kind of pick among this. But let's say on media, on Instagram, your friends, your family, people that are actually talking about it. Um, it's interesting because like I think we can all agree that all the police need cams, and I really haven't heard too many dissenting views to that. So like we've seen that like most people are totally cool with police oversight as long as it doesn't overstep like say their privacy, I guess. But like, how can everyone agree that hey, maybe the police should have cams all the time, and then you have one side of it being like, where's the disconnect?
Yeah, like something I don't understand, honestly. Like everyone, like you said, can pretty much agree that police need body cameras, but somehow the media takes that and whips at least one side up into a frenzy where they're like, "Well, fuck it, they don't need them at all," pretty much.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Like it's kind of
the,
like they
the
choose on each issue. Like this side of the political theater, this one's gonna have the reasonable opinion, and this one's gonna have the stupid opinion that strawmans the reasonable opinion and basically gaslights anyone that makes a reasonable claim.
yeah, exactly.
So
And
like, oh, go ahead.
no, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so we might all agree that, like, hey, they certainly all need cams, Like, the police need to be overseen, like, their jobs, like, they're public servants, When I worked at McDonald's, I understood that no matter where I was in the building, I was being videotaped, I was being recorded. So, I don't understand how, like, some people can say that, like, the camera, they didn't have cameras, people need to stop doing crimes. Like, that half the argument's just like, don't need no cameras because I don't think we need any.
Well, a good part of that also is like police unions and organizations like those that actively work against like the one of the big. I'm sure this won't surprise you to learn, but one of the greatest like uh, opponents of police body cameras for the longest time were police.
Hmm,
They were completely against it, and we
right.
all know the reason why. And I think that for the same reason, at this point, that's the same thing is happening in politics. The politicians do not want there to be any oversight. They don't want the show behind the curtain to be revealed, and they're trying to do everything they can. That's how Joe Biden became he became crowned nominee,
Just
and
like Hillary Clinton.
basically yeah, basically because he is like not Donald Trump, At this point, it's, not certain, but pretty much like 70-30, I'd say. Like, Joe Biden followed shortly by Kamala Harris.
Yeah. I just I don't know if you know what I was just getting into,
Hmm?
basically like how I made that that southern caricature that don't need no cameras. Like
Yeah.
my getting into that is this corporate political machine at work. Because what I did there is I made a stereotype, you know, whether or not it's right or wrong, I made a stereotype and then I made a straw man narrative using that. So essentially, what we have is we have basically our forms of media, like the real news and the news we get every day are not the same thing. And this like preposterous, sensational outrage culture news that we get, Donald Trump had a slice of cake that was larger than other people at a party. You know, like because of that, we just there isn't real news. And there isn't real like issues anymore. Did you know that Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, which I think is going to be, I think the record's going to be broken this time around. But did you know that her campaign was the least issues-driven campaign in U.S. history, as far as like
Yeah,
advertisements?
I did actually know that. Yeah, basically, like, she in 2016, everyone assumed that like Trump couldn't possibly be president, and because of that, I think she didn't feel like she needed to. I will say, like, I have seen Joe Biden put through some issues that aren't like, I'm not Donald Trump, but like his honest to God, his funniest like campaign ad, or the one that I remember the most, was literally like, I'm done, vote for me.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Yeah, the only ad that I can really remember from Bill Biden is that most recent. Yeah, you won't see me again if he wins. You won't see me again. It's like, I'm Joe Biden and I approve this message.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that was funny. Whoever came up with that, like, they need to get a raise. Honestly,
Right? I
like,
single-handedly won Joe Biden the election.
it's like, shit. You're telling me if I vote for Joe Biden, I never have to hear about Donald Trump again? And like,
Right.
there is a little bit of me there. It's like, shit. Okay, I know it's not the case, obviously, because now the Trump clan is going to be like embroiled in politics until they die off. But
Yeah. Um.
unless they all go to jail, they
I
might.
just I can't. I don't know, man. I just it's hard not to feel bad sometimes, because like when you look at the news, like no matter where you look at it, like I don't know. I don't want to be too controversial, but like why is the narrative like why is me saying that George Floyd was a criminal like why does that make people foam at the mouth when I say that? I don't
Well,
get that.
in my like to my view, it's usually because the people who like bring up the fact that like, people who bring up the fact that George Floyd was a criminal, which, I agree, he did have felony charges and whatnot, but like, basic that doesn't mean like
I
that
mean, I
doesn't mean he
understand it doesn't
deserved to
mean that he should have been
die.
killed.
I understand that, but the issue is that most people aren't willing to hear past that. They hear George Floyd was a criminal, and so they interpret everything else that you're about to say, which is, and so he did nothing wrong. He
Yeah.
deserved it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And I think
that's
that's
part of
part of
the
this
issue.
false dichotomy. I wouldn't mind us
Yeah,
just
exactly.
bantering a little bit, and then when we reach one of those conclusions, we'll just be like, and that, again, is effect of the false dichotomy we're talking
Yes.
about here. Because this false dichotomy engineers what it is, it's the architecture of arguments. It's basically they make kind of like society is supposed to have somewhat of like a linear progression towards a specific goal. Like you can kind of see that our culture, like say during the baby boom and stuff, our culture has always been we've been becoming quite linearly, but also exponentially, I guess. We've becoming more industrial. Communication has gotten better, and so we're talking about a system that like this system has remained unchanged, I guess, except for the social media aspect, probably since the 40s, at least since Nixon.
Yeah, honestly. I think that this is going to end up being another period of great change in our history. Who knows if we're all going to live through it, but like whether or not we do, it's definitely going to be one for like
Yeah, for the
the
books.
records.
See, I don't see the way I interpret that, like live through it, is I think it's going to take so long that we're not going to be alive for it at the end. I don't think that it's that we're going to die or something, or that we're going to be slain in some fashion.
I don't know. We might all end up dead.
I mean, ever since the Cold War, there's been the chance for spontaneous nuclear annihilation. So
No, yeah, I agree, but like here, especially here, obviously I'm not going to put too much into it, but here recently, especially, it kind of feels like everything's kind of like building up to a conclusion, you know?
yeah,
Like it gets crazier and crazier and crazier, and it just doesn't stop. The
yeah.
years stop coming and they don't stop coming, and that's really how it's going.
I think yeah, and I think that this like corporate information machine that like I think I'll just go ahead and name drop. I'm not afraid of it. Like how do I describe it? People like Mark Dice, right? He can
Hmm.
he can talk bad on CNN. He can talk bad on the corporate media machine and the liberal corporate media and stuff like that, right? So he can acknowledge that the problem exists, but it works on him. It works on him because he's still saying that some people in it aren't bad. Like
Yeah, exactly.
part of this is it's like I'm not going to deny that Trump bad. I just won't entertain the idea that Biden not bad, you know? And
Yeah,
this like part of this system it's adversarial in nature almost. Like everyone we have to have a side. And not only do we have to have a side, our side has to be right in all things, on every idea. I I just don't understand the notion that like there's 360 million plus people in this country. How could like let's say it's 40 40 40 40 60 or something like that, or 60 60 whatever. Like well,
yeah,
that's not how math works. 40 40 20, I guess. So let's say it was actually equal on both sides. Um what I don't understand is I don't know exactly what 40% of 320 million is, but I'm pretty sure it's more than 100 million. So,
probably around there,
how could there
120 or
be a
so.
political ideology that not only more than 100 million people believe in, but they believe in like basically at every stage of the information that's being presented?
I like something that's always bothered me is basically like as long as the voice is coming out of a mouth that has a D or an R next to it in your mind, like it you pretty much take what they say as gospel. In
Yeah,
2008, every Democrat, like, part of it was like there wasn't a bold-faced liar and politician, or there hadn't been in a while. But like with Obama, everyone fell for it, you know?
yeah. Everyone did fell for the change,
Yeah, they keep saying the
change.
change is coming, the change
Yeah,
is coming, but it never does. And I guess maybe I'm not old enough to be like completely disenfranchised with it yet, but like if it keeps up if every election and it turns out to be like change, oh nope, not change anymore, but I'm better
yeah.
than that guy. I am better than him.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. People that say that Trump is remarkably stupid or he's made remarkable like policy blunders and stuff. Like I don't think they remember George W.
Well, a good chunk of people, that is true. A lot of the people who are now talking about like Trump, they weren't alive during George W. But I am willing to say, I if I were back in like, you know, the early George W. days, I would be a little bit more wary than people. I don't know. You know,
Yeah. I think that another part of this I really do I think that the internet changed the game. Like the
it did.
internet changed the game because
Social
now
media, especially.
exactly, social media especially. Like, I don't know. I think they used to live in a time where I don't know if you know this, but there was like, who was it? It was one of the Kennedys. But basically, he was like on the up and up. Like everybody predicted that he was going to be president, but then he ended up killing some girl and like
Yeah,
not
he drove
reporting the
off a
crime for
cliff.
like 12 hours. Yeah, he drove that bitch into a river. And then he said that he kept diving and diving to try to get her, but he just couldn't find her. So then he
Yeah,
went home and he
exactly.
took a nap because he was so tired from searching for her so hard.
Yeah, he definitely didn't go home to like sleep off the booze in his system and called the cops once they couldn't test that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I
not
mean,
what happened.
we're talking about a guy that like he was a senator, I believe, at the time, or the governor,
Yes.
and he was on like the like people predicted that he was going to be president. So he was at the very least, he was going to be running feasibly for president of the United States. And
Well,
did you know that they basically proved that he done did it? Like and he basically admitted that he did like the entire way. He never
yeah.
saw a day of jail. Like
No,
he
he
killed
didn't.
someone. He killed someone drinking and driving. He killed a person. You know?
Yeah, that was just how it was. But something that's kind of interesting that the non-politically savvy might not know. Uh, One of his descendants, like the Kennedy clan of politicians, actually recently lost an election in Massachusetts, and it was like the first time that ever happened. He was one of
Wow.
those milquetoast corporate Democrats,
Yeah, of
and he
course.
was running against an actual progressive candidate, and he got fucking floored.
And
It,
that's I'm glad that you brought up progressives like that because
mhm,
that just got me thinking. They're like besides I would say a few people like Bernie Sanders to a degree and Alexandria Ocasio Cortez to a degree. Um,
mhm.
they they're kind of the true progressive, but again, this corporate machine. If you're a true progressive, right, then you're a socialist, and socialism bad.
Yeah,
And it's like sweetheart, I don't think that there is a purely capitalist nation that exists. Like,
yeah, exactly. There
be-
are no absolutes.
yes, because of the definition of socialism and communism and capitalism, like, I don't know if they know this, but
They don't.
America, the United States of America, is a socialist nation by definition.
Yes.
Because,
The United States of America has many, its most popular policies thus far have been its socialist policies,
right,
such as Medicare.
exactly. So, I just, man, I really don't get that. And, like, and another thing that gets me about this is I feel like government ineptitude is, how do I describe it? I feel like it's planned, you know? Because
A little bit, yeah.
yeah, because like let's say medicine, right? Normally I'd be okay with socialized medicine. It makes sense to me that, like hey, maybe, basically maybe you should be guaranteed that, you won't die of cancer if that just so happens. Or, if your leg
Yeah,
gets snapped off, you should probably whether like, before we even talk about the bill, maybe we should sew your leg back up, you know? Like I
yeah,
totally get that
exactly.
kind of stuff, but like part of it is the information. Part of it is that blue word socialism or red word, whatever, historically, before, like say socialized medicine or single payer medicine. But like, even if it is conceptually a good idea, let's say you get through like that haze of misinformation about it, you get past that, then your new struggle becomes our government is so bad at everything, at doing anything, even if we did have the perfect like medical system, it would be ruined somehow. It just wouldn't work. I really doubt that it would.
There, yeah, I agree. Honestly, like I think it might be better to give it a shot, like than to just like keep it the way it is, and that might be where we differ. But
See,
like,
I would say so, but I think the thing that like the way that the system exists now, I think what I would want to see is we become basically a little more private of a system, but there's a whole lot more oversight. Like I think the one thing that the government is good at doing is watching you and then stabbing you if you do something wrong, you know?
yeah, they're really good at paying attention to everything that you do and selling your information to whoever might benefit from it the most.
Right. Of course. Of course.
Very good at that.
Yeah, very good at that. So I think that the government would be better suited. Like I'm not one of those like free market, we don't need the roads. Walmart will build the road to you. Like I'm not one of those people, but I'm definitely
Yeah,
like I don't know how to describe it, man. Like there are some social like things, like say the mail. The mail should just be entirely institutionalized at this point.
the fact that there are
It's
some
a public
people that
service.
go out there and be like, the postal service does not make any money. It's like it shouldn't have to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like
It there
why like I don't know, Why do they have merch? You know, why do they have merchandise?
Because they have to have merchandise. The United States Postal Service has to have merchandise because it A gives them somewhere to throw empty budget money, and B, like, it allows the few schmucks that actually do want to support the Postal Service to buy a fucking shitty coffee mug for way more than a coffee mug is worth.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't. Well, I can't think of a single person besides a guy that works for UPS wearing a UPS hat.
Yeah, who's anti the Postal Service?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But now, because of how eroded politics have become, one side of the aisle's like, well, maybe we should just say fuck it, because I don't like what they're about to be doing, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm personally opposed to mail-in voting, and as such, I would rather fuck the Postal Service.
You
Never
know,
mind the
I
fact that
like
tons of
ordering things
people
on
get their
Amazon.
medication in the mail.
I like ordering things on Amazon and not having to leave my house to go to an Amazon delivery, building and stuff to grab my shit. But,
Yeah,
without the mail,
but
somehow I can't realize that I'm going to have to be doing a whole lot more driving myself.
yeah, once Granny like has to pay $23 for Amazon Prime because Amazon no longer piggybacks off of the USPS, like she might be like, well, shit, maybe the postal service didn't need to be profitable. Cause here it is, here this Amazon's being profitable, and I'm getting fucked.
Maybe
What do
it
you
ought to just
know?
be a
What
public
do you know?
service.
What turns out that when be in their personal interest over the public interest, being in the public sector, that it turns out to fuck people over. Who would have thought?
You know,
Apparently, no one for 80 years.
actually,
Because here we are.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. Basically, this personal, like, it benefits me type thing. Like, it's
Yeah.
weird to me how, like, often people practice cognitive dissonance. Like, even like the Trump campaign itself, you know?
Yeah, like something here recently that actually kind of shows that just plain as day. In 2016, every Republican was like, you do not nominate a Supreme Court justice in an election year under any circumstance. And here it is, and they're like, well,
Push
we
them
said
through.
that, but what we meant was an opposite party does not have to,
Yeah.
even though that's not what we said.
You
And
mean
in
like
fact,
Mitch
they're,
McConnell and Ted
two.
Cruz?
What's that?
You mean like Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz?
Yeah, actually, one of the funniest ones, Lindsey Graham. He's been going on Fox News and whining like every time. Like he keeps showing up and being like, "I need money, Sean Hannity," but he in 2018 was like, "Nope, I'm gonna stand by what I said in 2016." In fact, and if in 2020, Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies and we have to nominate a Trump Supreme Court justice, I will say no. And like, here it is, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna vote for her,"
Push it
even though
through,
she's
push it
fucking
through.
nuts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like, I hope honestly with this, this happening in the Kennedy, I hope that we start to realize like it's rotten all the way down, and I'm not going to vote for Lindsey Graham anymore. Lindsey Graham's progressive opponent should be like out competing Lindsey Graham at this point. You know,
You
just
know
because
that
Lindsey Graham has been shown to be just a horrible scumfuck politician through and through.
Yeah, I think that actually I want to bring up two things. One of them we've kind of been talking about the whole time. I think the first thing that I'd like to bring up is as far as politics, and politicians, I really can't think of a single politician that doesn't have some like major scandal behind them, like at some point or another.
Yeah.
Like I mean, let's run down the list. Elizabeth Warren is Pocahontas. Donald Trump is the Orange Man. Joe Biden's
The
the
only
Dementia Boy.
I
AOC
would
is the one that wants to ban cows.
Okay, I will say just really quick, like the only thing that Bernie's really got is hearsay and like an essay, and I would say at this point, there are more things about Trump that are scandalous than just, he's orange and he has bad hair.
No,
I
I,
will
I
admit,
agree.
I'll fully admit that there are some stupid fucking people out there who still think that slamming on Trump with his hair, like that's a slam dunk and it's still
Yeah.
funny. It was
And
kind of
I
funny in
slapped
2016,
back.
and then I clapped back. And
I'd
then
like to
I
see
dropped
how
out and endorsed
your
Joe
hair would
Biden.
fare in a blizzard. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my first point. That basically they're all corrupt. I don't know. With Bernie Sanders, the thing like he said some dumb stuff. I don't know. I guess he hasn't done as many bad things, but at this point, there are two major things that I could bring up. The first one of which is that he didn't show up for that vote. Like, he didn't show
Yeah, I
up
don't
for
like
that.
that.
They were
I'm not
one
into
vote
that.
short. It's something that Bernie Sanders has been saying since 1984, and he didn't show up for it. The like basically his flagship bill, you know.
Yeah.
And the
He might
second
as
thing
well
is,
have like made the bill.
yeah, and the second thing is white people don't know what it's like to be poor, and
Yeah.
I disagree with that because most
Yeah, we're
poor
pretty
people in
poor.
this country are white people.
Well, just
Like,
because there's more white
well,
people,
yeah,
but
but
it
it's not. It's
obviously
still
is,
true. It's still a fact that most poor people are white. You know, and that
yeah,
you can't say that white people don't know what it's like to be poor because I've never lived above the poverty line in my entire lifetime. You know,
yeah.
I've never not been a white guy. You know, so what are you going to say about that? And the second point that I wanted to make to bring up is one, they're all corrupt. They all have scandals. They all lie. They're empty suits as they've been described. But the second thing is essentially that they're not real representatives. Like we exist now in a representative democracy, and so what your representative is supposed to do is they're supposed to represent the views of their incumbency. So Donald Trump isn't supposed to think what Donald Trump thinks. Donald Trump is by the very nature of our system, Donald Trump is supposed to think what his voting bloc thinks. Donald
Well,
Trump is
more.
supposed to vote for what his voting bloc votes for.
See, at this point, though, I kind of disagree with you. I'm not, disagreeing with you outright, but like as president of the United States, I think that Donald Trump's obligation shouldn't be to his voting base. It should be to the American public. That's one of the reasons
Well,
why I
once you
find
become
his.
the president.
Yeah, exactly. He is the president though now, and a good chunk of his rhetoric is like, "Well, fuck all the places that vote for me or don't vote for
Yeah,
me." Sorry,
yeah.
that was a Freudian slip. Fuck all the places that vote for him.
More than that,
See,
though. More than
I
that.
can say that though because I'm living in a place that's going to vote for him.
Yeah, you're in that place.
Yeah,
Do you
fuck
feel fucked?
Ohio. It sucks.
So, like, so, okay, say you're in Congress, though, right? You're a congressman, you're a representative, or you're a senator, or whatever.
Yeah,
You are supposed to represent the political views of the
of your
people that voted you
district.
in, of your district,
Yes.
exactly. So it's not about what Joe Biden thinks, or what Senator Bernie Sanders thinks. Like when I read a government book when I was in high school, like one of the things that it said in it is that if I really feel something, I should write like repeatedly to my local representatives. I should
Yeah.
send the same letter up the chain. I should get other people to write the same letter and send it in. I should sign petitions and send that in. Like part of our political system is that we're a representative democracy. So we are supposed to vote for people that represent our views. We're not supposed to vote for people that have views that somewhat conflate with ours. It's not supposed to be what Alexandria Ocasio Cortez thinks about the Green New Deal, or what she thinks about climate change, or what she thinks about banning cows. It's what does
Yeah.
her district think about banning cows and climate change? You know,
Well, part of the issue, part of the reason why her district wants to ban cows is because they don't like
they don't
something.
have cows.
People that live in the city don't know what it's like to live out in the middle of nowhere, and people that live in the middle of nowhere just straight up do not have any idea what it isn't like. Randy does not know what it's like to live in the city. You and I do because we've both lived in the city. You know.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. He doesn't know what it's like to live there, I guess. But I mean, it's not
He
hard to
knows what it's like
conceptualize.
to exist there, but
Yeah,
he doesn't.
yeah,
I would say he does not know what it's like to wake up and notice that the shoe store underneath you is being robbed,
yeah,
which is a
yeah,
distinctly city
yeah.
experience.
Or even better, I wake up looking out my window in Norwood, and I see one guy bludgeon another guy over the head with a brick that he took off of a wall.
Oh,
That's yeah, that was fun.
yeah.
That was something. So yeah, I mean that's just or there was this one person, I don't know why. It was called Mill Street in Norwood, but down the
Hmm.
street there was like a crack house. And oh dude, there's this one person that their car got broken into like once a month. Like windows shattered, car
Yeah.
ransacked, seats ripped open looking for drugs and stuff. And it's other criminals looking for shit. So it's
Yeah,
just
exactly.
every dude, I knew it for a fact that at 3 or 4 a.m. one day of the month I was gonna hear coming from like 100 feet away
Yeah.
because that person's fucking car got jacked again. Like, oh, but I don't know. That's just another thing about it is like so. Just to kind of wrap it, we're gonna kind of cycle into something else, like a little bit of a new type of banter before we quit here. But basically to wrap it up, basically three major points. One was that all politicians now pretty goddamn corrupt. Like there's a
Yeah.
scandal about all of them. None of them like they're all liars. All of them. They're all cheaters. They all take corporation money. None of them are truly like grassroots, like truly. So so that's something, you know. And the
Yeah.
second one is essentially none of them are true representatives. Like I don't know who it was, but it was a right. It might have been Mitch McConnell himself, but he was talking about how look, just because the polls change doesn't mean I'm changing. Like he said
Yeah.
that like he was some kind like the bastion of truth. When in reality, when the polls change in your district, you are supposed to change your mind because you are supposed to represent the people that voted you in. You're supposed to represent your underlings.
Honestly, I would dare to say that, like, obviously, Mitch McConnell represents Kentucky, obviously. We
Right.
live near Kentucky. Like, they're ignorant there, but I don't think they're Mitch McConnell's level of ignorant, you know?
No, I don't think that I don't think that anyone in Kentucky. Oh, okay, that's wrong. But there aren't very many
Most
people in
people.
Kentucky that are going to walk into my house with a snowball and tell me that climate change isn't real.
Like, Mitch McConnell, for a long time, has basically run his career on, like, I'm a hardline conservative, and, this is what I'm gonna do. And, like, I think a good part of. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mitch McConnell be voted out whenever he comes up. Like, I think
Yeah.
what's really going. Like, I'm not one of those, like, blue wave types, but I think maybe the turning point, like, that might just actually happen is when everyone's like, shit, this person does suck. Okay, this person's really transparent with his campaign. Let's put all our money behind this guy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that like the very like our system like Mitch McConnell saying that because his opinion doesn't change, he's honest, right? Like how do I describe it? Because Hillary Clinton changed her mind about, gay rights over the years, that's not her being a liar. That's not her being how do I describe it? Fake. I guess it is. But like
Okay,
you're supposed
here's
to be fake in that way. If most people that you represent think that gays should have rights, then you are supposed to be a full proponent of the idea that gays have rights, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And we've all pretty much at this point agreed with that.
Right.
But right now, there are a lot of Republican lawmakers who want, like, nothing more than to get rid of gay marriage for no real reason. Just
And
kind of cuz.
yeah, and honestly, I think another appalling thing is that most people are so politically disenfranchised that the only reason why people how do I describe it? The only reason why representatives exist in places where none of their views actually represent like the people that they're supposed to be advocating for is because so few people actually get up and vote. Like
Yeah,
we're starting to see more youth do it now, but at the same time, like way too few people vote. And I genuinely think this ridiculous outrage news cycle is exactly the reason why. Who's going to want to vote for Joe Biden when the news organization that advocates for Joe Biden thinks that Donald Trump is a monster for having too big of a slice of cake?
yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, there are a list of grievances with Trump that could take an hour to go
Oh
through at
yeah.
this point.
We could do an episode right now, 3 hours. We could just cover all 4 years and we could just have a little slideshow put together of every blunder Trump's done in his presidency,
Yeah,
or things that here is a reason why you genuinely shouldn't vote, for Donald Trump. And we could do an hour on that at least, and we could do an hour on why you shouldn't vote for Joe Biden, right? So
yeah.
if we can do
But
that, then where does the argument exist that at least he's not him? Like, sweetheart, if
like
you can do a trash piece on both, what does that mean?
the thing that gets me is I would be willing to stay like I wouldn't be able to come up with reasons why you shouldn't vote for Bernie Sanders, and I'd be able to come up with like a little quick something, but we wouldn't be able to nearly cover as much. And
Right.
it's
I could
funny to me
go ahead.
that
Sorry.
it's funny to me that the DNC essentially ordained that this is the choice that you're going with.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I guess I could do like 10 minutes on how I'm afraid of social medicine, even though it's a good idea, and how I'm afraid of open borders, even though it might be a better idea, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I could do like a long episode on like, I'm not afraid of socialism per se. I'm afraid of socialism done incorrectly, because that's going to be even worse. We don't need the American version of Mao Zedong, you know?
yeah, I agree. Like I can agree with that. I just don't think that that's what Bernie is.
Right.
I don't
It's
think
just
you do either,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's the
I wasn't
worry.
saying that. I was just saying that, like,
No, I know.
if we just try to institutionalize medicine, we're really gonna mess up medicine, man. Like, like I'm not saying we shouldn't even take steps toward it, but like, just if we completely just go in and because that's the only way that people kind of understand a change in the political system. People, they don't want to use the political system. They don't want to vote. They don't want to petition. They don't want to. They don't want to protest, right? They want things to
Yeah,
change. They want people to say what they're saying, but they don't want to vote for somebody that's saying the same thing that they are. So it's just this wild system in which basically no one gets what they want, no one is happy, no one basically no one politician can be right about everything. And it's not that no one politician can't be right about everything. It's that you can't be a Republican and have a reasonable view on climate change. And you can't be a Democrat that thinks we need to close down the borders. So like you can't have like I'm not even saying that either of those are like reasonable. You can't be in the middle of the road. And I think Bernie Sanders tried to be in the middle of the road on some things, and I think that was his undoing.
yeah. Honestly, that's a pretty good summation of it. Like as soon as people realized, as soon as the DNC really realized that there was like momentum behind him, like they worked effortlessly to like keep him out of it. You know,
Right.
and
Oh,
I,
oh. That
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. That just reminded
No, it's
me.
fine.
We might as well talk about it since we're doing an episode now. How the DNC in 2019 told the American public under oath at court that they don't have to choose who they vote and they don't have to be honest about election results.
Something something that I think is very funny. Not to completely like take this off track, but something kind of related to that. CNN in the early stages of this campaign, uh, something that I found kind of funny is they predicted Kamala Harris as most likely to be next president, Joe Biden to be second most likely, and Bernie Sanders was somewhere around six. And I think that
Wow.
really shows you a lot, like considering how it really turned out to be. Like I think we know how the DNC wanted it to be. They wanted Bernie Sanders to be near the bottom of the list, scrubbed out,
Right.
Kamala Harris get it, easy done, easy
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
But
Um.
no, that's not how it
Yeah.
went because everyone hated Kamala Harris because she
Right.
fucking sucks.
Yeah. And so does Joe Biden. Like,
Yeah,
and honestly, if you think about it, think about how they listed Bernie Sanders as like six. Like, I disagree
yeah,
with most of Bernie Sanders' policies, to be honest. And I'm just gonna say that I do. I guess I'm a little too much of a right winger for that. But like, as far as like economy and whatnot, I don't know.
yeah,
I don't want to get into that now. But it's just amazing to me that I'll just go ahead and name drop a bit. Like, say, the Amazing Atheist and the Deep Fat Fried crew, they'd probably vote for Bernie Sanders. Joe Rogan
yeah,
said that he would probably vote for Bernie Sanders. Shoe on Head, Armored Skeptic, they said they'd probably vote for Bernie Sanders. Fritz Raygun said he'd probably vote for Bernie Sanders. Like, I mean, we could name like 20 more names of like
Yeah,
just moderate
on
YouTubers. Tim Pool, he was gonna
yeah,
vote
on
for Bernie
both sides,
Sanders.
like a bunch of people on both sides of the aisle are all agreeing, like, hey, we should have voted for Bernie Sanders, but no one's willing to vote for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah,
Like,
and
I
the
don't think
system
I'm
is so
going to vote.
corrupt.
I know damn good and well I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump. I'm probably not going to vote for Biden. Something hardcore would have to happen, like some crazy shit, possibly with what's going on with the Supreme Court. But like, it, I, as far as I'm aware, like I'm going to go and I'm going to write in Bernie Sanders, and I'm going to be
Right.
one of, I assume, a large
Probably
amount of
thousands.
people who do. Yeah,
Probably thousands. Yeah.
I think
I
more than thousands of people are going to do it.
well, I mean
I
that
don't know
not
though.
that
At the
many
same
people vote to
time,
begin with.
like, yeah, that's true. I think I'm not saying like in this like area, but I'm thinking like overall that a lot of
Yeah.
people are going
Overall,
to
it's
vote
probably
for
going to
him.
be on the news.
There, there is already a lot of people. Like I woke up this morning and the first thing that I saw on Twitter, which is kind of how I judge like the state of the world for the day, but basically like it was all shitting on Jill Stein and how people voted for Jill Stein, and
Yeah.
basically like the consensus is if you voted for Jill Stein in 2016, you're a piece of human garbage and you need to vote for Joe fucking Biden because if Donald Trump wins again, we are all dead.
If you
And
vote
I like,
third party, then you are a part of the problem.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like maybe like this is kind of like the consensus of the the episode, but like maybe you're the problem.
Yeah.
If you really buy into that system, maybe you might be the problem.
Maybe thinking that like how do you even like Bernie Sanders if our system wasn't just so blatantly one or the other, positive or negative, it like
Yeah,
then Bernie Sanders could have run on a third party platform because
yeah,
he is a third party representative.
yeah,
So he could have ran on a third party platform, and if that were feasible, then maybe we would have had Bernie Sanders as president. And so basically this like say like the DNC, they openly admitted that they lie and that they change it. And so there's a good chance let's say if they weren't liars, there's a good chance that Bernie Sanders would have won the primaries this time. And the numbers have come out. It's basically been proven that Bernie Sanders would have won the primaries in 2016. So basically, if this political machine, like the DNC, is directly tied, like literally, like bank accounts and stuff, directly tied to those doing the news and stuff, like in CNN. Like, there's a reason why CNN hosts or has hosted the Democratic political debates. No,
yeah. Like another thing. Fuck, I lost it. Never. Can you pause it? Sorry,
yeah, I got you.
sorry, I lost it. I got it.
Go for it.
Okay, so basically we watched this time around, like we weren't paying as much attention last time and that's why it took so long to like find out like, oh, it really was rigged against Bernie, but like we kind of watched live as the DNC screwed Bernie this time. Like I
Yeah,
literally watched someone like this, like, oh, it's a tie, so we're gonna do a coin flip, and then they flip a coin. It's like, oh, tails is Bernie and heads is Hill or whoever, and then they look at it and they jiggle it around in their palm a bit and scooch it with their fucking thumb, and then they're like, "Oh, it's for Joe Biden. Look at that, Joe Biden." And it's
yeah.
like it's absurd to me.
Or
It's just straight up absurd.
man, I don't remember what year this is. It could have been most recently. It could have been like 6 months ago. It could have been 4 years ago. But remember that all in favor of Hillary Clinton, and then you heard like, all in
Yeah,
favor of Jeb, or all in favor of Bernie Sanders,
yeah, and
and then
it was yeah,
and then she goes, okay, I think I heard more people for Hillary Clinton, so
the Hillary has it.
yeah, yeah. So that's oh man. So I don't know. I honestly I think that's a pretty good conclusion point there. I think that wraps it up pretty well.
Yeah,
Basically the point of this episode is that the Republicans are wrong, the Democrats are wrong, the DNC and the RNC are totally like down to the core corrupt systems. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, they're all terribly I wouldn't say politically corrupt since they're not technically political institutions, but they're all terribly corrupt. this lobbying that's being done is a terrible injustice to the system. Every politician now sucks. No politician truly represents their incumbency like they should. So basically, like American politics, like here and now, is like there's like essentially there's you can't be right. You can't be right. You can only be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And most importantly, I think, is that the people, like, I'm not going to say, like, don't vote, but, like, if you're going out there and you're like, yeah, at least he's not this person, he's not the crazy left, he's not the crazy right, and if that's all you've got, then you're wrong too, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Even better, it's like, what? You're so politically disenfranchised that you're going to point out obvious and glaring flaws with the system that's been in existence for your entire lifetime? Well, you're
Yeah.
part of the problem.
Or like, oh, we've been around a lot longer than you, and it's always been this corrupt, and it's never gonna get any less. And it's like, what do you like? What the fuck do you mean?
Man, step
Like, that's
one,
what we're trying to do.
yeah, yeah. Step one of grief is acknowledging that the thing you're grieving is like a real deal fact. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, part one of solving a problem is acknowledging a problem, right? And so, like, it's almost like people kind of stop at part one. Like they'll acknowledge that there's a problem, but like at what point are we so doomer? Like at what point are we so doomer that basically like if you try to solve the problem, then you might as well not. But
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
hopeful enough that we'll use this broken system that we won't try to change because why not, right? I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're kind of gonna have to see like what happens here in the next few, I guess, months now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. I think that's gonna about wrap it up for today. We're also gonna talk about Maine doing what's this? Rank balloting
Ranked
essentially.
choice.
Yeah, ranked choice
Yeah,
balloting. So, maybe we'll talk about that next time. Maybe it'll be like a Rudy Giuliani thing. I'm not sure. Uh,
it could be like a Rudy Giuliani thing.
yeah, we'll
We
see
don't
what
know.
happens. But in any case, that is episode 3 of the Sardonic Surfs. If you like this video, then go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you like our content, check out our other videos and go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Um, if you wouldn't mind it terribly, hit the notification bell so that way invariably on Saturday when I upload something, you know about it. Thanks a lot.